Philip to Evelyn, 21 April 1945. Dearest Chippy, no mail from you today, and I'm starting this without the vaguest idea of what comes after the first sentence. It was a typically routine day, even unto the rain. Still working at headquarters and making good progress. Received a letter from Judy Davies in which she asks me to meet her and her parents in London on the 30th. She wants me to get tickets to a show for all of us, and she would settle with me. Frankly, Chippy, I've been looking forward to this date ever since my last pass 3 weeks ago when we arranged it, and I had every intention of making it my treat. But sad to state, I can't leave for a couple of weeks yet due to the preponderance of work that was the consequence of the changeover. So, I have no choice but to call them and tell them that I can't make it. I haven't been so disappointed about anything in a long time, honey, and I really hate to renege on the deal, but there isn't a damn thing I can do about it, so I'll just have to make my excuses and swallow my disappointment. Incidentally, darling, I believe you know by now that the V weapon threats to London have ceased. No buzz bombs or rockets have fallen since the British overran the launching sites a month ago. I'm looking forward to my next leave, which I expect to spend in London, but I don't think it will be for 2 or 3 weeks yet. We're looking for the war in Europe to end at any moment now, sweet, and the likelihood is that it will all be over by the time this reaches you. Just enough white space left to forward my best love to you and the pumpkin and all. I love you, my Evie. Ever your Phil. Evelyn to Philip, April 28, 1945. My dearest, this is my first letter since Wednesday evening. I started to write on both the following nights, and each time I felt too tired to continue. So it is that I have accumulated enough news for a longie. Does the enclosed letter from Jackie do anything to you? I was in a funny mood all day because of it. I hardly know what to say. I do feel that you should make every effort to write to him immediately, regardless of what you may have to give up to do so. Today, for the first time in 3 or 4 days, I received some mail from you. Those bearing your new address. There were 4 V-mails in all, of April 17th, 18, 21, and 22. I had a funny premonition about your change of address and Jackie's marriage. As soon as I tore your letter open, I looked first at the address and immediately noted the change. I had written to Jackie, Seymour, Harry W., Milt, and Glow a few nights ago, and in my letter to Jackie, I told him I was worried that he was married, and was he married? I'm wondering now just what the change means, what this good news you might have later. Why in heaven's name do you get me all hep? My mind isn't at all peaceful when I don't know what it's all about and how it may affect us. Is the change for the better? Will you remain in England? Do you stand a chance of getting a promotion? Last night, at long last, I made a break in connection with 4906. Goldie had been planning to go to Poughkeepsie for a few months with Diana, and Mom said she wanted to go away for the whole summer, all of which meant that I would be left practically alone with the big house. So I had a quiet, frank talk with the 3 of them, and told Harry and Goldie to look for an apartment. After a lengthy explanation, we all agreed that no one was satisfied, that we were all merely waiting for the opportune moment, and that this was just as good as any. Naturally, each one wanted to know your opinion. I told them that we had discussed such a possibility even before you had gone overseas. In fact, I spoke of giving up the place immediately after my return from Columbus, and that you were agreed, especially if I felt it was too much to upkeep. I reassured Mom that once you returned, she was more than welcome to join us, and if she wanted any further assurance, she was free to write to you. Phil, it would be too difficult for me to put down on paper the bulk of our conversation. But if Mom does write to you and you reply, just don't mention anything about any previous discussions. Reassure her that she is welcome to come with us and that you are not in a position to discuss the matter further. There was no dissension and each one talked sensibly. At the moment, I am not in a position to tell you exactly what will transpire. A lot depends on whether or not they are able to get an apartment. Please, honey, whatever you do, do not feel badly about it. I'm sure the war will be over in a matter of hours or perhaps days. There were rumors that Germany surrendered this evening, and it may be that you will be home before the time for action arrives. It's something that must happen sooner or later, and I feel the sooner the better. We're going to start out all over again. We had a bad start and must have a good finish. Your letters were all very sweet, dearest, and it did me a world of good to read them. You made me feel so good that all I wanted to do was gather you into my arms and love you to bits. Phil, at this point I find myself without the patience to continue on this. I'll continue tomorrow. Perhaps you may not be able to understand my negligence, but I cannot for the life of me get myself to sit down and actually write in detail some of the things I should like to tell you about Adele, etc. Please bear with me. I'm very weary this evening. Adele was very trying most of the day. She and I had dinner at Betty's this evening. Mom went to see National Velvet. I shall make it a point to see that picture, as I've heard everyone rave about it. Good night for now, darling. I love you so very much. April 29th, 1945. This April 29th was a far better day than an April 29th just 4 years ago. When I think of how I felt, Adele slept until 8:30 this morning, giving me ample time to get a good night's rest. I awoke at 7:30 and lay abed that full hour. Gosh, but it felt good. After breakfast, I cleaned our room thoroughly and dressed very hurriedly. Adele and I walked over to 11th Street to buy a belated birthday gift for Stuart. I bought him a pair of white gabardine shorts with straps like a sunsuit and a blue jersey. While at the store, I splurged, but good. I bought Adele a smartly tailored dusty blue spring coat, a navy blue derby, and a navy blue handbag. My bill totaled $20 before I left. However, baby, if you could only see Adele in her newest outfit, I have to pinch myself every time I look at her. She's a full-fledged grown-up without a trace of babiness. After the splurge, we came back, had lunch, and Adele rested in our bed for a half hour. Adele was dressed to the hilt today and was really something to see. Mom, Adele, and I was kind of dressed up myself in a black and coral dress, took the J bus and 59 trolley and arrived at Ethel's at 4. Mickey told me I looked like a regular glamour gal today, though I thought I looked too tired to look glamorous. Paul made such a fuss about Adele, and I wish you could see how they kiss, right on the mouth. Paul only wanted to kiss her, but she didn't want to. Several times she relented after we coaxed her a bit. Paul got to be a regular lover. As soon as we arrived, Adele wanted to see the canary. The canary died several months ago. Paul saved the moment by taking her up to his bedroom to show her his goldfish. Ray gave Adele a peach and blue rag doll. Poor Adele, she hasn't got one doll. Much. And I'm beginning to run out of names. We decided to call this one Phyllis. Betty Jane continues to be fondest of Betty Jane. She almost becomes rapturous when she's able to play with the blonde-haired doll. Adele says, "Mommy, I won't throw her down. Daddy will come home and take her away from me." Another thing, Adele wants to get into every car she sees on the street. She loves cars, buses, trolleys, etc., and to keep her out, I tell her that the cars don't belong to her and that she'll have to wait till Daddy comes home and buys one. Whenever she comes upon a car now, she says, "That's not mine. Have to wait till Daddy comes home and buys one." Ethel and Al went out this evening and had several other people with them. Since they were leaving about the time we were and had only room for one, Mom went with them and Adele and I took the trolley and bus. Adele had a bath, her hair washed, and went to bed straight away after getting home. Adele had dinner at Ethel's, but we ate home. I thought I'd go to the movies with Faye this evening, but it would have meant going to bed late, and I must get sufficient rest for the Monday night ordeal. Tuesday morning can't come too quickly for me. This will be her last needle. A month from now I'll have to go back for the Dick test, which proves whether or not she is immune. In a few days you'll have completed 4 years of service, if that year counts, and I've heard they may release men with 4 years or more of service. Do you become eligible for any further increase in pay by virtue of the 4 years? I remember you're telling me that after 3 years you were entitled to 5% of your base pay. Good night, darling, and I'm praying almost desperately that I'll see you soon. On the bus coming back from Ethel's, I met a girl I hadn't seen for 8 years, and she introduced me to her husband, a soldier who had just come back to this country after 2 years of service in Iceland and England. He must go back to England next week. That's the first I'd heard that fellows from England are getting furloughs. Harry Wyman is definitely coming back to the States. He says in his letters that he'll see us all soon, but he can't say definitely when. But I must sign off now if I'm to get any rest at all. I do hope you'll be able to replace the bracelet, for I do feel terribly about it. I adore you, Phil, dearest, and shall end this with a hug and a kiss from your Ev.